What's going on, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and we are gonna go and look at the Marvel solicitations for April of 2023. My goodness, this year has flown by. Normally we do this at the end of the year, but this time around I figured with all the holidays happening next week, let's do it a little bit early. And usually we do this about 12:30, but I figured we do it a little bit early again today because while my kids are out of school, my wife wants to do some holiday shopping, even though it's crazy out there. But hope everybody's doing well and staying healthy and keeping clear of this weather. My goodness. Omni Dog will not be making it today. He unfortunately has some place that I'm sure he would rather not be, that nobody wants to be. But we do have this wonderful lady down there. And who are you?
Hi, I'm Ødfel. I have done a couple different shows reviewing like TV shows and movies for Marvel with Omar, as well as Matt, my ex. I'm also a cosplayer, and you can find me on pretty much any social media under the Ødfel handle. But yeah, lots of cosplay, lots of talking Marvel stuff. So
awesome. And to the right of Ødfel is the Norwegian assassin.
Yes.
Who are you, sir?
Yes, I am Lars Pearson. I am the Norwegian assassin, formerly of Wizard Magazine, currently of Man Norwegian Press, also a steady Iowan. Now, we should mention that Kurtis he's come from his great country to be here in Iowa to visit the in-laws. So the plan for today was that I was going to go see him and be locked in his warm and tender embrace. But unfortunately, it has become a cold hellscape outside, and I feared my tauntaun would freeze before I reached the first marker. So alas, he is, we are in the same state, but not in the same city.
We're going to try and make that happen next week, though. And
yes, it'll be warm next week.
So we'll see what happens.
And who's that's lad over here?
My name is Kurtis. I'm part of I am the Epic Marvel podcast. And I don't have my usual bookshelf scene because, like Lars said, I am visiting in-laws for the holiday. Just before we get started, I wanted to give a shout out to one of my listeners and one of your listeners too, James Abel, who sent me an early Christmas present. He sent me, look at this, check this out. A vintage Alf stuffed animal. So I want to thank James for that because it is an extremely generous gift. I appreciate that greatly. It's wonderful.
James, why are you doing this, James? That's the stuff of nightmares.
Cute. It's cute. And you brought it with you from Canada, even.
No, he mailed it to my in-laws because it's way cheaper to mail something domestic. Yeah. So I just have to carry it across the border.
Yes.
Yes. Smuggle it back through.
Yeah.
Hey, Ødfel, are you wearing is that Spectrum or what's her name? Photon?
Yeah. So back before the Disney store vanished from existence, when WandaVision was out, they sold a bunch of sword jumpers. So I snagged one before they left the mall, and I'm so happy.
Nice.
That's nice. I love it when clothes are subtle. They're geeky but subtle. So that looks really great.
Yes.
Right, because I'm like, it just looks like it could be a sweater for anything, but if you know, you know, and that's the kind of stuff I love.
Exactly.
Stealth cosplaying. Yes.
Exactly.
Stealth cosplaying?
Stealth cosplaying. Yes, I'm acquainted with this.
So will you be smuggling that alien across the border?
It's true. Does he have
Kurtis, I knew you had a good heart. So before we get started, I do want to thank David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us the solicits early. This will be available probably around mid-January everywhere else. And again, we're only looking at the collected editions that are solicited for April. And I always like to remind people the way that it works for anybody that has worked at a comic book store is the solicits in April of 2023 mean the comic books, the single issues, the floppies that are coming out in April. The trade paperbacks are a couple months after that. The hardcovers are a few months after that. And then we're going to be looking at books that may not even come out until August or September. So just to clarify, I would be jealous of Alf. I am. You can mail that alien Omar. No, we got some from James. Melanie has 3 from James, so I'm okay collecting Alf. They're in my burn pile right now.
Do I have time for a shout out as well? No.
I'm kidding. Yes, go ahead.
Quickly, so I don't know that I should name names because I didn't get permission, but a viewer of this channel, supporter of this channel, heard my offhanded remark that I had been screwed on getting the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1 and emailed me and went to great lengths to make sure I was able to get a copy very affordably and really went out of their way to help me get it. And I took it as an act of geek love. That geek love that says, you need and want this thing. I have this thing. It will make your life better to have this thing.
That's awesome, dude. We got some good people in this community. Seriously.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's because, when the world is horrible, it's just like, you might enjoy this thing. It was very, very nice. I mean, I bought it, but it was a very agreeable rate and they went to great lengths. So I am grateful. Thank you.
Ødfel, do you have any shout outs you want to do?
Not that I can think of. I'm still frazzled from Florida brain, so if I am forgetting someone, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. So, what's up, Babs? Let's go ahead and start this. Let me share the video or the file. And let me know in the comments or the people watching right now if that's big enough or you want it bigger, or I don't know. How's that look to you all?
Yeah.
Okay, now we can start. MFedX is here. Hey.
Good.
All right. Miles Morales Spider-Man by Saladin Ahmed. This would be the third Miles Morales Omnibus if you're reading it in chronological order. This collects the Miles Morales Spider-Man 2018 series 1 through 42 and Absolute Carnage Miles Morales miniseries, Amazing Spider-Man, the 2018 series 81, and Miles Morales The End, plus material from Free Comic Book Day. Somebody said smidges. Is that good enough? Ooh, that's big. I don't know if I can read that. Maybe that's too big. There we go. Is that good? We good? Is that good? Okay. So $125, 1,160 pages. Starting off with a definite buy for me. Not a good omen. There are two covers. There's the Torrin Clark cover and the Hernanda Souza cover right there.
You think his torso seems extremely long on that main cover? I'm not sure.
Well, his legs aren't stretched out, so I can't tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with his little leg pose.
Yeah, I mean, he could have tiny legs, but I don't.
If his legs are attached to where his hips would be, like that's still a really long torso.
Might be okay.
Okay.
Some artists do get silly putty torsos. Michael Turner in particular. Wow.
I'm gonna let you reach out to Hernanda Souza, Curtis.
I'm gonna do that right now. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bodybuilder / comic book artist.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. I don't know anything about him at all. Wonder Man, the early years omnibus. There's the Arthur Adams cover and the Jack Kirby is the DM cover. I love that Arthur Adams cover. This collects pretty much a lot of his appearances, not every appearance, but a lot of his appearances in the pages of Avengers. Now, for people that get the Avengers Omnis, will this be doing some double dipping? Yes, but not a lot because we only have 4 Avengers Omnis. Even if we get 5 one day, that will only take us maybe to 150 or so. So there's all this stuff that's post 150 that hasn't been collected in oversized format before. Plus, you get giant size Avengers, and it's really the chronological order of Simon. This is the type of Omnis they've been doing, like the Phoenix and Doom, and hopefully one day Kang.
Most of this stuff, I think, is in the Epic collections already.
Yeah, it is. Most of the stuff that's collected in the Avengers, but I don't think this was collected in there. The Wonder Man one shot. That's the one with.
Yeah, it was. It was in West Coast Avengers.
West Coast. That's what it is. Yeah, that's the one with Bill Sienkiewicz on the cover, right?
That's right.
Yeah, there will be a good amount of double dipping here, but I mean, if they're doing a character like Wonder Man, you wonder, is there any character in the catalog that they won't do an omnibus of? Jarvis, the early years. Aunt May, this time it's personal. I mean, wow.
This also makes me really question things because they just announced that they are doing a Vision Quest TV show too. So I'm like, is this a marketing move?
Maybe.
Is Wonder Man going to appear somewhere? Because this is like a.
I just want that Scarlet Witch one that.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not like a fully out of pocket pull, but it's like just fringe enough that I'm like, oh, is this alluding to something?
Could be. Well, I mean, Wonder Man will show up at some point. You just think.
Yeah.
I mean, they just introduced Hercules, so
I'm still baffled by that. I'm like, okay.
Because we don't know where it's gonna go, especially with the franchise he was introduced in. Like,
well, right.
Yeah.
Who knows what the future of that will be?
Yeah. I mean, if these sell, go for it.
I gotta get Wonder Man. I have a Wonder Man tattoo, so yeah, he's a fan. What's up, Jay?
Oh, okay.
I mean, there are people that get these type of books, right? Whenever I announced the Phoenix Omnibus, which we're gonna be looking at here, there were people that were genuinely excited because they don't get X-Men. It's hard for me to think that there are people that don't get every X-Men Omnibus, and I'm like, where are those people? But there are, and then there are people that are excited because they're getting it for their friends, or their friends are only into the Phoenix character or the Phoenix power or whatever.
Yeah, usually if I'm into a team, I'm usually into the whole team, not one specific character. But yeah, no, you're right. It was very exciting.
I hate this comment so much. Wonder Man Omnibus. What? That hurts. Ouch. Speaking of Phoenix, here she is.
Yeah, there it is. And that's Simonson
cover.
I mean, the one is good, but the Simonson cover is just brilliant.
The Simonson cover is great. But oh my gosh, that art germ cover. Woo! Yeah. That one's awesome. And I love the design that they did in the first one with like the flaps. This one's pretty pricey though. This one I think the first one was 125. This one's 150. Has 1,328 pages. But again, if the people are getting X-Men, then you're like, oh, well, I already have most of this, and we have Volume 5 coming out next year. Well, I have Fall of the Mutants and Inferno. So what this collects, in case you are buying everything in oversized format, what this collects that has not been released before is that issue of X Factor, that issue of Fantastic Four, and the Avengers, which is pretty much the return, right? The return of Jean Grey, the return of the Phoenix, I guess. It tells you the story of what happened.
Yeah. Even the Excalibur stuff is.
Well, the Excalibur stuff is.
It's in the Excalibur one.
That's Rachel.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I was about to say, that's not even Jean.
Yeah, so they're going with Rachel, and oh my gosh. Let me tell you something. If this had included the X-Men New Teen Titans crossover, everybody would be buying this one. Like it's licensing though, of course, right?
Yeah.
35 to see, like these X Factor issues have been collected if you're getting everything X-Men in the crossovers like Fall of the Mutants or Mutant Massacre, and then of course Inferno, which is the big revelation of Madeline Pryor. So it's an interesting collection. It's again one that's in a lot of it has been collected, most of it actually in oversized format, including the issues of Excalibur. But if you're into the Phoenix,
well, Omar, I don't agree that everyone collects every X-Men omnibus, but an awful lot of people collect all the Claremont ones.
Oh, what? Yeah. What are you talking about? See my shelves, man.
Can you remind me? What was in the first omnibus?
It was pretty much do you remember the Dark Phoenix omnibus they had a few years ago? Before that, it was the Dark Phoenix hardcover. That was pretty much what the content was. It was a rebrand of those issues. So it's pretty much taking us through how she got her power and then to the end of 137. So
okay. Yeah. I didn't realize there was enough for an omnibus there.
This makes me really curious to see what a 3 would be, though, if they're not keeping it to just Jean. Like, if they're expanding to Rachel, like, will we get some of the chaotic storylines that have nothing to do with X-Men that they've done with Phoenix? Like
the Ultraverse Phoenix?
Well, there's that. There's the whole, like, most recent Avengers arc they did, where like half of the Avengers were the Phoenix for a minute. Like they've done some wild stuff, so that has me kind of intrigued.
Yeah,
You bring up a good point, because what I want to see are things that have never been collected before in omnibus format and only have been available in trade, like the Greg Pak End Song. I could go without War Song, but I feel like that would come hand in hand. So End Song, oh my gosh, I love that story. And I know not everybody's a fan of Greg Land, but I thought in that story it was awesome. It really pulled at the heartstrings for me.
Yeah, Avengers versus X-Men also dealt pretty heavily with the Phoenix, but that is all.
Yeah, and then you've had several. Well, I mean, whenever they started retconning things, right? You've had several hosts. Of the Phoenix. So it is going to be interesting to see if they decide to go further with this and expand it and make it a volume 3. I guess it really depends on sales of everything, right?
Yeah. The Excalibur stuff was kind of interesting because it dealt pretty heavily with Rachel, and it also kind of was also kind of an epilogue to the Days of Future Past storyline, because at the end of the Excalibur comics, they kind of defeat the evil regime in the future. That whole
towards the end of Alan Davis's run, right?
Yes, yeah. The whole Days of Future Past thing, there was kind of this open wound that the villains still had the future, but they deal with that here. So this actually makes a nice endpoint in a way, but there's more.
I think there's always room for more. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Wow.
Thank you, JG, for the super sticker, my brother, or the super chat. If you have a question, let me know after that. Okay, so here we go. Sigil. This is the Crossgen, our very first Crossgen.
Very first crotchety omnibus.
There are several people excited for this one, including this guy. And people don't know, and I had a lot of questions about this one. I had no idea that. I think to me the Crossgen universe was very special because it was a universe, it was a publishing company that when I was coming back to comics was just everywhere. Like they had the talent and and then you heard amazing stories about how well their creators were treated and the creators were jumping ship over there, and then sadly that didn't last long. I want to say Lars, 5 years maybe at most Crossgen lasted?
Ish, yeah. Yes, for those of you who don't know, gather round, children, because back in the day, there was this company called Crossgen. And it was founded by, I believe his name was Mark Alessi. Is that his name?
Yeah, he passed away
he did.
2 years ago.
Yeah, Mark had, and this is no secret, Mark had made a bunch of money in another industry and just decided to plow it into a comic book company. And they did a whole bunch of stuff, and some of it was very good. And they had some real names like Mark Waid and the rest working on it. But then, these things don't always work out. It collapsed. Disney bought it, I believe, or bought the husk of it. So now this is what we're getting. By the way, I could be, if my yogurt memory serves me right, I think Alessi also funded a bunch of, how should I put this? Disadvantaged women, got them out of some dire straits and helped them go to college and things like that. So
yeah, like
those are his two big legacies: is one, Crossgen, and two, funding disadvantaged women out of their terrible problems.
Yeah. To me, Crossgen was a place where creators got to grow their independent abilities and tell the stories that they wanted to tell for years. I was a big fan of the Crossgen era, mainly Scion and Sojourn. Mm-hmm. The Path, I think, was one. Way of the Rat, and these were, what was cool about it was they were creators from Marvel Comics or DC Comics that I had followed for years. Yeah. So coming back, going back to this and doing their own thing, I'm like, cool, it's a brand new universe, and the stories weren't interconnected, right? They weren't like you need to go and read Sojourn to understand what happens in Sigil number 39. It was kind of like their own little pocket universe. And what was really cool about this, I don't know if you remember this or not, but they had an anthology comic, kind of like what they're doing with Dawn of X right now, where the monthly comics were collected in one collection. So if you wanted to read all of Crossgen, you just got, what was that called? Do you remember, Lars or Kurtis?
What called? Sorry.
that anthology magazine that collected all the Crossgens monthly.
Crossgen Chronicles.
Yeah.
Maybe it was that. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where you find like Jimmy Chung's artwork. To me, that this is the place where it just blew up. Greg Land was drawing. Greg Land, I think now is known as the guy that does photo light artwork. But back then, dude, that actually worked because he was drawing those type of ladies with giant dragons and monsters, and wow, it was awesome. And I love the colors, and yeah, I'm a big fan of this. This collects the Sigil 1 through 42, the Crossgen Chronicles 4, Saurians on Natural Selection 2-issue miniseries, and Crossgen Chronicles 1, 1,192 pages.
Yeah.
$125. Meridian was also excellent.
Ruse, exactly. Yeah, Ruse by Mark Waid was really good.
Thank you. This is it. It was called Forge and Edge. That's what. Thank you, Omar. Thank you.
Oh, right.
Ødfel?
One of the big three indie girls started on Crossgen, wasn't it? Wasn't it Lady Death, or was it Vampirella that started on? One of them, I think, was also a Crossgen.
Lady Death was Chaos Comics, and Vampirella was the
Warren Publishing.
Warren Publishing, yeah.
Someone in the comments said that Crossgen was kind of a later version of Valiant in a way, and that's not a bad comparison. I mean, both companies had a shared universe, but their titles kind of ran their own. They were trying to do something different. They had some really interesting concepts and interesting creators. Neither made it survived into the zeros very much, but yeah, it was interesting stuff.
I don't know. How do you pronounce it? Maybe I have. Is it Sigil?
Sigil. Sigil.
Oh, Sigil. Sorry, excuse me.
Pronounced Sigil.
I'm a Latino living in Kentucky. Sigil, boy.
Sigil. Don't tell me.
Sigil. Thank you, Kurtis. And how do you pronounce Chris Bacalo's name?
Bacalo.
Bacalo.
Okay. From now on,
I've been saying it wrong for years.
I actually met Chris, and he's never corrected me. So
you get so used to people saying your name wrong that you just go with it.
Well, I know I do. Like my last name is. Everybody has a problem pronouncing it. From now on, Kurtis.
Saying his last name in front of him when I met him because I was like, I feel like I'm wrong, and I'm just gonna like, can I call you Chris? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, cool.
Wing it. Literally. Very big news I got to break a couple of weeks ago. Wow. All 4 of the Avengers Omnis are coming back to print. In case you missed it, this is the 60th anniversary of Avengers in 2023. So this is a big deal. They will have a new spine, of course, because I think people have asked me, and just throwing it out there. Yes, they will have the new spine design that you saw in Uncanny reprints 1 and 2, that you've seen in the Silver Age reprints with the smaller font, the picture at the bottom. So yeah. Collecting Avengers 1 through 30, 744 pages. Man, look how, I don't want to call it basic. I almost called it basic, but I mean, you hardly see that, right? When you're looking at collections, collecting annual, collecting this crossover. This is just Avengers 1 through 30.
For the days when they had only one title of everything, of every property.
Literally.
$100, 744 pages. The standard edition cover is the John Romita one, and then the direct market is the classic #1. I actually dig that. I'm one of these people that love the new covers, man. I was a big fan of those. The Avengers Omnibus Volume 2. Now we're getting into the good stuff. Now we're getting into the Roy Thomas era. Collecting Avengers 31 through 58, Annuals 1 and 2, X-Men 45, and material from Not Brand. Kurtis?
Not Brand. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I should move up here.
No, I can just hide.
There we go. No, there we go. There we go. I'm always here on the channel, so there we go.
You're fine.
This is a must buy for me, so I'm happy I can buy various copies. Yes, 1 and 2.
This is a good volume. Volume 2 is better than Volume 1, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I think both X-Men and Avengers, for me, that Stan Lee era was not as good as his Spider-Man and Fantastic Four.
No,
that's how
I think everyone's agreed on that. Yeah. In fact, I don't actually own pre-Neil Adams X-Men because.
Important question. Did you ask David Gabriel whether the Avengers Silver Age Omnis will have the new Masterworks scans?
Oh.
I haven't, because I just heard about these. Oh, I was just reminding them kindly that it's also the 60th anniversary. And if you notice something, this is August and this is August. So they're pushing these books in. I had already announced all the books for August 2023, and they're doing the same thing with September, making volumes 3 and 4 for September. Yeah, so I'm excited for the people that missed out on it, and we're not done because it's also Invincible Iron Man. Now, this is very important. So, okay, first of all, it's the reprint of Invincible Iron Man Volume 1. It's only had one printing. This time around, I believe this is a new cover because we used to have a movie cover, was one of them. But we have the Adi Granov cover and the Kirby cover. Both of those are the direct market covers. The Gerald Perel cover, this is the standard edition cover. So here's the thing. For anybody that has been collecting these books for a long time, this is a book that, you know, like, I think it was part of the Amazon glitch. I remember getting it for like $8.88 in 2010. And it stuck around for a long time. It stuck around, you know, for years. It didn't sell out. It was liquidated eventually. So people were like, where are the reprints? And I think a lot of the things that publishers see are like, well, we have to see the sales, right? Yeah, we want to. Sure, a lot of people working in the collected editions department want to reprint this older stuff and want to do more Iron Man stuff, but it just didn't seem to sell. My point is, like, if you have been interested in this, I mean, we saw what happened with Wolverine, right? Like, it's your time to step up and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to buy a copy of it and buy one for my friend or whatever it takes to get a volume 2, because nothing will make me happier than seeing those people that are always yelling, like, where's this, and getting their books. But unfortunately, it's a business, right? Like they have to sell in order to get more volumes. So Invincible Iron Man, collecting the Tales to Astonish and Tales of Suspense. Or no, actually, Tales of Suspense was where he started. 39, let's see here, 39.83, and then Tales to Astonish 82. 720 pages, $100. It is a different time in the market. That is 100% right. So hopefully this will sell. Reprint volume 2, get a volume 3, and get us some other part. Like, what would you all like to see Iron Man in omnibus format? What run, what book would you all like collected? Kurtis, Lars, and Ødfel.
I'm trying to remember what adjective it had, but the era right before they killed him where he was like kind of just a secret agent for no reason because he didn't have his suit was really interesting. Was that Superior Iron Man? I can't remember.
The Guild. Yeah.
That was a really neat run.
That was a good run and very underrated. I think that was right before Bendis took over. What about you, Kurtis? What would you like to see?
I have not been a fan of Iron Man for pretty much my whole life, so
I
have no idea right here. I all the stuff that they're printing in the Epic collections I've enjoyed so far, and I don't need it in oversized. So.
Wow, so snooty. Okay. Lars.
Well, first of all, I am not the biggest Iron Man reader.
Oh my gosh, you two are the worst.
Well, you can't read it. Well, first of all, you can't read everything. And second of all, I'm just more into books than solo titles on the whole. I just am. I don't know why. Someone's saying that they didn't finish collecting the Fraction run, which if that's true.
So Matt Fraction's run got 2 oversized hardcovers and it needed
I remember
one more thick one to wrap it up.
Huh.
Yeah.
You would think, You would think they'd be able to do that. I'm a bit of a heretic though, in that I did enjoy the Bendis run. I was reading it from the library and I found it enjoyable. But see, I'm not a hardcore Iron Man fan. So if he does something strange, it doesn't seem like total heresy to me.
Like the Crossing.
I enjoyed it. I even enjoyed the stuff he did with Dr. Doom, frankly.
Wow. I don't know what to say. And here I
what
thought,
about you, Omar?
Here I thought I was being edgy with the Crossing. There's a lot, right? I think we need to follow up to the Bob Layton, David Michelinie, and John Romita Jr. Omnibus. I would love to see that in omnibus format.
Well, that's the obvious one. They've not done a Michelinie.
Well,
specifically.
I almost said Neil Adams, Dennis O'Neil, Len Kaminsky, very underrated run in the 90s. I mean, you throw War Machine in there. I actually really like Director of S.H.I.E.L.D., that era, that modern era of Iron Man. Yeah. You put the beginning of that, you put like The Extremists by Warren Ellis and the director of Shield era together into an omnibus. That's hot, man. Like you have Jim Chung on covers, and you have Adi Granov doing the first 6 issues. My goodness, guy went on to do the designs for the movie. So,
Yeah.
But yes, it's definitely a character that has had some great runs, but it's not like you go up to a random comic book reader and like, hey, what's your favorite Batman story? Right? They could tell you, like, I got 10 of them.
Yeah.
Right. This time around, it's like I can't even do anything with Kurtis because he's like, I don't want any of that in omnibus format. I'm happy with my crappy trades.
Yeah. As long as I'm expressing
superior, you mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, superior. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as I'm airing unpopular views and getting kicked off the channel. I think we talked previously about how I found Demon in a Bottle quite overrated. It was a good idea. It was a good idea. It was a good idea, and I respect what they were trying to do. And but they just didn't really have it wasn't the right time for a story like that. It didn't really connect.
I think it still stands. It's been a while since I've read it, though. I think the last time I read it was when I was reading it in the Marvel Premiere format, the hardcovers they were releasing.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I really liked when Denny O'Neil revisited the subject, though, in his run.
Yes. No, that worked better. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And dude, you don't like the Doom Quest story, the issue 150 and 250? The big fight against Doom where they travel back to medieval times.
Oh, no, that's very good.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Great. Yeah. In omnibus format, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly right. It was immense.
Okay, that's just making sure. Marvel Masterworks, The Incredible Hulk, Volume 17.
Oh, my God.
There's your cover and the direct market cover. And the cover is Frank Miller, right? Was it Frank Miller? Let's see here. Yeah, Frank Miller. Collecting Incredible Hulk 256 to 265, annuals 10 and 11, 400 pages, $75. So, Bill Mantlo, Stephen Grant, Mark Grunwald.
Happy to see Contest of Champions in there.
Yeah, me too. Wow, look at that burn artwork. All right, Marvel Masterworks, The Fantastic Four, Volume 25. Collecting Fantastic Four 269 to 277. Annual 18. The Thing 19 and 23. And then material from Epic Illustrated 26 through 34. Huh. This is the last of John Burns, right?
Is it? I think there might be one more.
Let's see. 277.
Yeah, John Byrne goes all the way to...
I can't. I thought this was the last one. So maybe you're right. Maybe
actually,
80 something.
I'm reading the internet right. It says 295.
Okay, cool.
So there'll be a smidge.
Yeah.
So one more. What if it was being resolicited, but again coming out in April? So keep that in mind. This was previously supposed to come out this November or October, but it's been pushed back till April. This is the 90s era. This is my era of What If. I love this stuff. Into the Multiverse Omnibus Volume 1. Both covers, the Ramos cover. Let's go back up here. That's Rodney Ramos. And then this is the Al Milgrom cover. Gotta go with the Rodney Ramos. It's a Take on Giant Size 1, man. So this collects the What If. I call it the 90s series. I realized this says it started in 1989, but
yeah, I get it.
Still 90s. 1 through 39, Quasar 30, and What If number 1. I have fond memories of this era.
Yeah.
You guys, did you all read this stuff?
Oh yeah. There's some really great stories in these early issues. One that stands out is Wolverine as a Shield agent. I like that one a lot.
It's the Liefeld on the cover, right?
That's right.
Yep, Rob Liefeld on the cover. There's a lot of good ones in here. And the volume 2, which I just announced a couple months ago, that will also have some really good ones. And that's when they started shifting the look and tone of What If. It stopped becoming like What If Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires, and it became What If starring Sabretooth. And then it became a little bit of an anthology series after that. Yeah.
I think for me, so much of my early comic buying, I was just on an intense budget. And What If is one of those things. They did a lot of good stories. They were very interesting. But because it was an anthology, it could be very skippable for me. If you did an X-Men story, or if it's just something that looks interesting. But your average story of like, what if Ant-Man had the power cosmic? I'm like, I don't have the money to buy this. So I skipped a lot of these.
Yeah, like most of my what ifs, I've pretty much only picked up like X-Men related ones I've seen while like shopping. So I have no idea if they're from this era or from like the next chunk of era. I'm like, I don't know what volume any of these belong to, but I just have the X-Men ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
the X-Men
definitely.
ones were the best ones. Like, what if Phoenix had not died is one of my favorite
That's my
ones.
That's a
favorite
very good
one.
Is
Yeah.
it? That's your favorite one? I love
Mhm.
that one.
It's so
Very
good.
good.
And the beauty of these books is that hardly any of them like have a happy ending. Any of them. Like
Yeah.
I remember
Which got slightly predictable because it's like every single one it ends in
yeah,
tragedy.
it did, but I still loved it. Like it's
it's
what
great.
was it? What if Punisher had killed Daredevil is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Because okay, he kills Daredevil, but because of that, like Aunt May and Mary Jane get blown up inside of their house. So they go after Spider-Man and kill Spider-Man. I'm like, that's not what the title said. What's happening here? It's like everybody's dying.
Yeah.
I love
I think about when Doctor Strange in Infinity War, he's going through all of the different outcomes of how
the
that's going
fight.
to the battle,
Mhm.
and he's like, "There's only one outcome where it's going to be positive, right? And every other multiverse version of the battle with Thanos is going to end in absolute chaos."
Absolutely.
And that's what if? What if? Because the 616 universe is where we get our happy ending.
Yeah.
Every other one not going to turn out great.
No, the only one that was curiously reversed was Frank Miller doing "What If Elektra Had Lived."
Oh, yeah.
That was such a good issue.
That
That's a
was from
masterpiece of an issue.
It
that
is,
was from
and
the previous series.
Yeah.
yes, it was. But because the Miller run is so replete with tragedy, then to have him do that story where it turns out well, I'm so glad that he did that one. But no, most of the time, which is awful. Like that one from the class series where What If Sue Storm had died or something, and you see all the Fantastic Four on the cover, and they're absolutely horrified and grief-stricken that she has died. It's like, okay, it sets a tone, doesn't it?
That was a great issue too.
And they had a lot of like the editors had a lot of fun with these two because you remember in the first volume it was like what if the bullpen had become the Fantastic Four,
right?
So you had like Stan Lee and Flo, like they were the characters. And this time around it was what if nobody was watching the Watcher,
right?
And that's one of my favorite ones because it's got like an anthology of like in one little page or one panel, like what if Storm was working at the airport. Silly things like that. I was a big fan of this stuff, and I cannot wait to own it. Hopefully, we'll get all 3 volumes. This is something that I talked about on my Saturday live stream. I hinted at it strongly, as in like I announced it. But there is a new gallery edition, and it is Daredevil, Guardian Devil, collecting issues 1 through 8 of Daredevil by Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada, and the half issue. So that is the second gallery edition. The first one was Love and War, if I'm not wrong, right? The Elektra,
which I
gallery
think
edition.
Marvel does not have a habit of reprinting these. I think the Love and War one is going for
and I ended up with the review copy, and then Marvel sent me another one, and I gave both of them away during our giveaways.
Both of them.
Well, it was a mistake. I wanted to keep one, and I forgot that I had already given one away. So by the time the second giveaway we did, I'm like, oh, I'll throw an extra book because I always throw extra books in there if I can for giveaways. Whoops. So I hope whoever ended up with both of them are still watching my channel.
Yeah. But no, this is Quesada at the height of his artistic powers, and I thought that spoilers here, but I thought the Kevin Smith one was very good with the unfortunate habit of bumping off a main character in the same way that Elektra got bumped off, and it's like that's not very imaginative there. But great art, good dialogue,
very, very dialogue heavy.
Yeah.
Like this is not modern comics to a lot of people. I love this era. This is what to me restored Daredevil. I mean, and then they had a consecutive run of like amazing creators on this. We had like, we had Bendis, then we had like before that it was David Mack. Then after that, after Bendis left, it was Ed Brubaker, then Andy Diggle, went over to Mark Waid, and then Charles Soule, and now it's Chip Zdarsky. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's not missed a beat. It's been really crappy to Matt Murdock, though, the way he's been treated, but it's been an amazing ride, man.
It did rejuvenate Daredevil after a long period where, frankly, I hadn't much cared about it. But, this is very good. It's very, very good.
It looks like, what is this? Spider-Man Volume 1, End of the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
Okay, so this is Dan Slott coming back with Mark
Right.
Bagley to do another Spider-Man series. Not amazing. So it looks like it's collecting Spider-Man 1 through 7. This is a new series.
Yeah, I want to say End of the Spider-Verse came out in floppy in like January of this year.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember seeing it coming out while I was still working at the my local comic shop. So I want to say that came out like early this year in floppy.
And yes, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I had mentioned the Guardian Devil Gallery edition on our Saturday stream. So every Saturday we do have a stream at 11 a.m. where it's the Q&A for a couple of hours. It's a lot of fun. Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This is one that I wanted to read.
Wow.
This is a great series.
Okay.
I
Wait.
don't read many modern comics, but I've read the first issue, and it's really good.
Is this in continuity? One angel in particular. One angel must eat Spider-Man alive. Is this?
I don't know if it's in continuity or not. It could be. They don't make any based on the first issue. I don't think that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I wish they would reprint Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
The
by
Tom
Peter
Taylor
David.
books?
No,
Those are
by Peter David.
so good. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought so. There was another Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man by Peter David's been out of print for quite a long time, and I'd like to have one. But...
Mike Wieringo doing the artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Was it? That was the last series he was working on before he passed, wasn't it? Friendly Neighborhood.
I don't. Maybe. Yeah. Probably. I don't quite recall. Yeah.
Dark Web: The Amazing Spider-Man by Zeb Wells, Volume 4, collecting Dark Web 1, Dark Web Finale, and Amazing Spider-Man 15 through 18, 152 pages, $19.99. Star Wars Volume 5, The Path to Victory, collecting Star Wars 26 through 30. This is the Charles Soule era of Star Wars. And at this moment, I just want to remind people to smash that like button, please. Han Solo and Chewbacca. I like the first book. I have not read this one, but I'm glad it's an ongoing series. And Mark Guggenheim, Phil Noto supplying the artwork. It's or the covers. It's weird because it's like right now we're in the era of Star Wars comics where it takes place between Empire and Return, and Han Solo is not in there, right? Because he's in Carbonite, Frozen, and that's what the War of the Bounty Hunters and all that was about. But this takes place before that, so it's an interesting time when this took place. I like the series, though. I thought it was well done. Punisher War Journal. What's that?
Noto's art just always looks phenomenal, too. I'm
Yeah,
looking at that cover and it's like...
He's really good. I really enjoyed his stuff in Cable.
Yeah.
Punisher War Journal. I didn't know about the series, but it's not a series. I'm sorry. It's like one-shots. So it has Blitz, Brother, and Base, written by Torun Grombeck, and penciled by Lan Medina and Rafael Pimentel. I've not read any of these, but it looks like it takes place during Jason Aaron's run. That run of Jason Aaron's Punisher was awesome. People were complaining about the symbol on his chest being changed. And I'm like, yeah, of course, it's not the Punisher unless it's got the skull. But the way he wrote it into the story, I'm like, oh, that's awesome, dude. I think
it was the move. I think it was the move.
I think how they did it, I'm like, why would he be working for the Hand? And then when you find out why, I'm like, okay, I need to know more. Star Wars spoilers. Han Solo's frozen in carbonite.
It's true.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Apologies for that.
Giant
Murder World. Okay. What is this? Is this arcade?
It sure sounds like it. Murder World is real.
Yeah.
Online and gruesome.
It doesn't mention arcade. No, here we go. The game's for himself arcade. Yeah, it is about arcade.
Okay, so it's collecting Murder World Avengers, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Moon Knight, and Game Over. How is that guy still around? How have they not killed Arcade?
Arcade? I quite enjoy Arcade.
What? Okay. Carnage, Volume 2, Carnage in Hell. Well, that's a spoiler. Ron V writing the story.
Yes. Spoiler, he goes to hell.
Collecting Carnage 6 through 10. All right. I've not read this one. I don't know when volume 1 comes out, or maybe I've read it. Oh my goodness. No, I did read it. I'd read volume 1. Yes. I thought it was a mini series. Okay, cool. X-Force by Benjamin Percy, volume 6, collecting issues 34 through 38. Is that Maverick now hanging out with Wolverine and Domino?
Yeah.
Trials of X, volume 10, collecting Hellions 18, Excalibur 26, Marauders 27, New Mutants 24, and X-Men number 6. Captain Marvel. What do you do to my road?
Good God.
Kelly Thompson's run continuing. She's getting her first omnibus, and her run's not going anywhere, it looks like. Okay. Collecting Captain Marvel 42 to 46. What's that, Ødfel?
It's been so good. Like I'm about an arc and a half behind, I think, at this point, but Kelly's been doing great on Captain Marvel.
Oh, I like her run. It's probably, well, it's my favorite Carol Danvers Captain Marvel run. My favorite Captain Marvel run was the Peter David era of Janice Vell. I love that. That was my Captain Marvel. But yeah, I've been enjoying it, and the supporting cast that the character has, nice.
Yeah.
The Brood are a truly enduring design. I mean, I think I'm right in saying Dave Cockrum just tried to imagine what's the most disgusting thing I can possibly think of as I'm creating this race.
Aliens.
Jesus, it's they are awful. They are really awful. I'm sorry, is it racist to say that? I don't mean to.
For that, well,
Brood.
I don't think so.
For the Brood.
I like Brood stories.
Oh
Yes,
no, they're great. Oh no, they're really good.
it's like the Xenomorphs and aliens, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, is somebody asking about Trials of X? End of collecting Hickman's Inferno, or we already passed that point? Cody, it won't collect Inferno, just like it didn't collect House and Powers of X.
Yeah.
But past that point, yes, you are past that point with the relaunch of X-Men 1 by Jerry Duggan. Kieran Gillen, I've been loving this book, Immortal X-Men. I wish that the logo was somewhere else, though, because I didn't even see Kitty there.
X marks the spot.
Man, what a fun series. If you're a fan of like Sinister and all the horrible things he does, that's for you. That collects issues 7 through 10.
Immortal X-Men is really good. Yeah.
The Hood is getting a Saga book, the Saga of Parker Robbins, collecting the first 6 issues of the Hood, which is a phenomenal series. Dark Green.
Is the Hood going to be in a MCU production?
Yeah, there were pictures of him shown in Echo, the TV show.
Okay.
Nice.
That explains it.
Yeah. Brian K. Vaughan's The Hood, but with Kyle Hotz on art. Oh my gosh. It's one of my hidden gems. I love it. Not a lot of people have read it. Dark Reign The Hood 1 through 5, and then Dark Reign to Cabal are also included in here. 296 pages. Explicit content. So I don't know if it'll be part of the Max. Yeah, because there was some language. There was some strong language in the first 5 issues.
The original one was Max, right? Marvel Max?
Yes.
I think so.
I have it over there. Yes, it was. I love that book, man. It's so good. She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell, Volume 2, 6 through 10, $15.99. Ultraman, Mystery of Ultra 7. Man, I was so hyped for these books. I hope they do well enough to continue them. Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom. This is the follow-up to the Ultraman story from last year, or 2 years ago now. Collecting all 5 issues of that. I love this cover right here. It's so awesome. X-Men Legends Past Meets Future. What? Why are you making that face, Lars? What's wrong with you? You don't like that? You don't like that? Do you also not like?
It's a little suspect.
Do you also not eat meat? Do you not like camping? What's wrong with you? Look at the testosterone coming out of that cover, man.
Jesus
That is manly.
God.
Look at Wolverine.
Wolverine looks like he's about to explode.
It does look like he's about to explode. It was also on the cover of the Epic Collections recently, that same approach. And I was like, Jesus God, what's going on here?
I love it, man.
This is from the very unanatomical era of Marvel. Yeah.
This is Carrie Andrews does that cover. That guy's got a range of different art styles. Roy Thomas, Innocenti, and Whilce Portacio. Man, look at those names. Very nice. So it goes it's like going back and putting the X-Men back into an era where the writer never stopped writing the characters. So I get excited about those books.
And also, you just think, what would it look like if Wolverine stood up straight? You know, it would be like that famous Rob Liefeld drawing where Captain America's breast is shoved out.
Wow. No. So X-Men 92.
Oh yeah.
The saga continues. This is the stuff that's not in the animated adaptation omnibus. And it also includes this freaking gem right here. X-Men 92, House of 92, 1 through 5. That is awesome if you've not read it. The premise behind that is that it's the 90s X-Men, but it's the Krakoa era stories. So it's taking the 90s X-Men, like the animated Jim Lee costumes, and doing House and Powers of X, doing Inferno, doing X of Swords with 90s characters. Oh, dude, I was like,
very odd concept.
I loved it, man. As an X head, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Why hasn't anybody thought of this before?
Wow.
All right, Kurtis.
Yep.
Your moment to shine, buddy. X-Force.
Well, here,
now.
Yep, this is volume 8, and this one has been pushed back a number of times. So we've actually talked about it in the solicits, I think, a few times already. But this is the era right. This is the era right before it switches to the Counter X era of X-Men, collecting, what is it, 85 to 100, and the X-Force Champions Annual 98 and the X-Force Annual 99. More Jim Chung. We've talked about him already this stream, but he does artwork in here.
Yes, this is the last of his art. Issue 100 also did it. No, it was issue 50 that had the Rob Liefeld variant cover. I'm curious how the next volume will be collected, because the next volume is the Counter X stuff, which is the Warren Ellis era, but that only lasted up until 116, I think, and then 116 became the Peter Milligan X-Force era.
Yeah.
So will that be thrown in there, because they are so different? I mean, that is a different book. That's not X-Force.
It's a bit of a gear shift.
Because 16 issues, is that enough to collect in one epic? With, I don't think there was an annual released. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it's collected.
Yeah, I mean, what they could do is the Peter Milligan stuff could be the modern era X-Force epic collection.
Oh yeah.
But then that's a really short epic collection. There's probably other appearances, and like maybe how about like the Shatterstar miniseries that came out a while later.
The one by Tim Seeley?
Sure. I mean, there's other X-Force stuff, another X-Force miniseries.
But that's,
I mean, it's
decades later, dude, right?
But it's
okay. What they could do,
the next progression of the characters of that team.
What they could do, you're right, is give us the X-Force series, and you're talking about the Marat Michaels Shatterstar series, right? Okay, if they put both of those, because that kind of leads into Cable and Deadpool. Yeah.
Or was there a New Mutants?
There's a 3-issue. There was a 3-issue miniseries of New Mutants where they travel back in time to see their old selves or their young selves. And what was that called? School's Out. Oh, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. But that's not a bad idea. I kind of like the idea of throwing in X-Force Volume 2, which is that 6-issue miniseries by Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza. And then the 4-issue miniseries of Marat Michaels and Fabian on Shatterstar. Truth or Death. Thank you so much. Thank you. Excellent.
That's right. Yep.
That's what it's called. Excuse me, it's Deadpool. No, it is not. It's Cable and Deadpool. I don't care what they tell you or what that cover says. You open that Omni, first issue is Cable and Deadpool. But that was collected in the Excalibur Epic, right? But I mean, it's not like they haven't double dipped before. So
yeah, it relates to both series.
Gen X, this is a rarity, right? Volume 3. This is one that we're getting in chronological order. Most of the stuff has never been collected in any kind of format. Kurtis, tell us about this.
I am a big Generation X fan. This 3rd volume wraps up Scott Lobdell and Chris Bachalo. Chris Bachalo's run on the title. and it has Chris Robinson taking over for a few issues as well. It had, let's see here, Generation X 24 to 32, plus the -1 issue, Annual 97, X-Men Unlimited 16, will team up #1, the Daydreamers miniseries numbers 1 to 3, and my own personal favorite Marvel comic of all time, Generation
Wow.
X Underground #1.
That's the Mafood one, right?
That's right.
For those of us who don't
this
know
is-
what's so great about it.
Pardon me?
For those of us who do not know, what is so great about that one?
Well,
It is the least Marvel comic that was released at that time. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an alternative underground style comic by a very prominent at the time, very prominent underground indie artist, and it just makes fun of Generation X, which I was a big, I was a big fan of the characters at the time. To see this lampooning those characters was great. I love his art style, but for me personally, what this did is it let me know that comics was more than just superheroes, and I started to explore more of the other comic book publishers that were publishing stuff more like this, and it opened up my world to the global landscape of comics, and I've been forever grateful for that.
Yeah, if you've never run across X-Men or Generation X Underground, it really does not look like a Marvel book at all. It
Not at all.
has a very, very interesting art style to it, and I would recommend, like, you could probably find it in a dollar bin nowadays, and I would definitely recommend picking it up just because of how unique and really cool of a piece it is.
I can buy it off Kindle. Yeah. Okay.
As a
Great, I got my
completist-
copy signed.
Oh.
That's so cool.
As a completist, I was I remember reading that book and going, well, that was nothing like Generation X.
Oh yeah,
This era of Chris Bachalo's artwork
Bachalo.
also, damn it, I thought I said it right. All right, hey, whatever.
He goes through a transformation for sure, and he becomes very cartoony, a little anime influenced, and this was right after he had taken a break from, like, he went back to DC to do another Death miniseries, and when he came back, he was like a new guy, a new artist.
And a lot of it had to do with Mark Buckingham's inks too. Like, if you see Mark Buckingham's art in Fables, it looks a little more like this than Bachalo's art did before, like, he left to go to DC to wrap up those issues. This is also the beginning of James Robinson's run, right? And then eventually,
The beginning and the end. It's the whole thing is in this book here.
Is it?
The next issue after this one, Larry Hama takes over.
Larry Hama, yeah. Oh man,
and that's when the book actually starts to go quite downhill.
You interviewed Larry about this, didn't you?
Yes, I have. I did a lot of Generation X interviews on my podcast, and so I did talk to Larry a little bit, and you could tell, like, he just didn't care about the title whatsoever. It was just a job.
Man,
I think every writer hits that. There's the characters you're really into and you help define, and then there's the paycheck.
Yeah.
What the things they did with M and M plate and penance and way to complicate that story even further. Oh my gosh. Iron Man Epic Collection, The Crossing. Look at that cover. That's Tom Morgan, isn't it? I believe.
Sorry, Lars just has to barf in the trash can for a moment. Just a second.
What is wrong with you?
I have to turn the heater on.
Oh, okay. Collecting Iron Man 319 to 324, Avengers 390 to 394, Avengers The Crossing, Forksworks 16 through 20, and War Machine 20 through 22. Jim Chung's art is on the back right there with Hawkeye. That's the Brothers in Arms 2. I know way too much about this era of Avengers. Kurtis, why don't you fill us in, though? What does this mean for Iron Man Epic Collections?
This is going to be the second to last volume, I think, of the Epic Collections. It's going to be one more after this that will wrap up the Crossing storyline. And
Iron Lad.
Yeah, and it'll be, so spoiler alert, some big things happen to Tony Stark in this book that will prevail through the next volume as well. And this will also probably be a big double dip for whenever the Avengers Epic Collection with the same material comes out. Almost exclusively, I bet.
I mean, this has all those issues have been collected in Avengers: The Crossing Omnibus.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to leave to turn the space heater on because I'm quietly freezing to death in here. I was not leaving in disgust, although I can leave in disgust if you think it's an appropriate reaction.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of this era. That costume right there. This armor was designed by Joe Mad. He actually designed that costume. He designed the Hawkeye costume. He designed the Black Widow costume, Scarlet Witch costume. I mean, he was big. He was a huge name at Marvel Comics.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely.
Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning, Jim Chung drawing some of these issues in here. I don't know why he didn't get top billing. Oh, Deodato Jr. He did do like the Avengers, the Crossing, and the Avengers, but at this time it was Jim Chung drawing this. Let's see here. Right now, Wonder Man is currently in pre-production with Yahya Abdul Mateen, Black Manta in Aquaman, Dr. Manhattan, and Watchmen. The TV show. He's casted as Simon. I didn't know about that. I didn't know that Jim Chung did art back.
Yeah, although these things are not always as strategized as you might think. I mean, you know, sometimes the publishing arm works independent of the studios.
Yep, I learned that by. That was one of the questions I asked David. Like, so is there a Man Wolf movie coming out? And he was like, no. I just like Man Wolf, and I wanted a collection. No, that's what it was. He saw a stack of Man Wolf comics going, well, we haven't collected that yet. Let's collect that. Yeah. And that's how that happened.
Yeah.
Sergeant Fury, Epic Collection Volume 2. Curtis, how big of a deal is this?
Pretty big, because it's been something like 5 years, maybe not 5 years, three or 4 years since the Volume 1 came out, and we were all wondering, is there going to be a Volume 2? We don't even know. So good to see this here. Sergeant Fury 20 to 36, annual number 1 to 2. I think this takes us also past the point that the Masterworks got to, or maybe not. I think the Masterworks maybe had one more volume.
And the reprints. So we're getting Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collection Volume 25. I can't believe this sold out. Like, because it was available, you know, as a trade. It was available everywhere else as like an Epic Collection with Venom and Carnage, but here we are. Woo!
This is one of those titles that's going to always be in print in some way. And so in 2022, we got Carnage Epic Collection Volume 1, which is Maximum Carnage. And now a year later, we're getting a reprint of this book here. So that's a lot.
Collecting
it's perennially Maximum Carnage coming out.
Yeah, definitely.
I was a sucker for this. I know it lasts 18 issues. I was a sucker for this. And then the video game that came, like, I remember the video game being huge because it was like the first video game I ever saw that had a limited edition with like a t-shirt and the red card. Oh man, it was so good. $40 for an Epic Collection is a really good deal. I agree. This one for some reason is $39.99. Where were the others? $39.99 for Sergeant Fury, $49.99
Wow.
for Iron Man. I didn't even notice.
Because it's over the 500 page mark, so they have to bump it up to the next price bracket.
$44.99. I figured these would be $44.99 because of the X tax, but man, Iron Man: The Crossing, 480 pages, $44.99, and then this one here is $44.99, the same page count. Let's go back here to
as ever. This is why we can be grateful for the online retailer discounts, because paying retail price for all
so if you live in Europe and you're wanting a big discount on Marvel DC books, thank you, Lars, for that.
Nice segue.
Check out Walt's Comic Shop. They have the cheapest pre-order prices for Marvel and DC books in the EU. Flat shipping rates of €12 for all EU countries. Bulletproof packaging. All emails are answered within 24 hours. They have a huge selection of out-of-print books. Just head over to waltzcomicshop.com for great deals, rare titles, and exclusively for you minties, you can use the code Near Mint Condition at the checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order of over €40. Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source of Omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. My wife is not here to sing the song. I apologize. That's all you get from me. But yeah, check them out. Seriously, especially, prices, man. They just go up. Oh, so excited about this one.
Wow, a lot of epics this month.
Epic Collection, the Cosmic Squish Principle. 13 through 30, material from Marvel Superheroes number 5. 448 pages, $39.99. Curtis, what makes this one so good? What makes this one so special? If I'm a completist of She-Hulk and I have, let's say, the John Byrne omnibus already.
Well, let me tell you, there is a little chunk of issues in that John Byrne omnibus that gets completely skipped over because they're not written by John Byrne. And this is them
Or
right
drawn
here.
by John Byrne,
Or drawn by John Byrne.
Although Brian Hitch was really going for that John Byrne art.
And he was super good in this.
He
And there's
was
kind of
great
a
at it.
rotation of different writers through this. You can see all the writers here: Steve Gerber, Buzz Dixon, Simon Furman, Dwight John Zimmerman, Louis Simonson. So it's an odd period for She-Hulk. Not a whole lot of direction. And then John Byrne comes back after this, and he's like, "Forget all that stuff."
Yes.
It's just a dream.
I love what he kept. Like, what other writer could get away with that? Yeah, all right, whatever. Anything that happened between my issues didn't happen. It was just-
she found Man Wolf in the shower, and that was it. Basically.
So that cover, it says the cover is Dale Keown. It's not Brian.
Oh, yeah,
Hitch,
that is
but
Dale.
They had a very similar style at the time.
But Hitch really was drawing like John Byrne. If you look at the issues right after John Byrne left, you could definitely tell, wow, they were hiring this guy. And he's a great artist. I mean, eventually, to me, I always thought he came from like the Alan Davis School of Art. But he developed his own style when you had Paul Neary inking it. It was good. I liked it. But yeah, man, a lot of talent on that book.
A lot of talent on it. I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad it fills in a gap. I will probably be skipping this one just because I'm not saying that John Byrne's the only person who can do She-Hulk, but there is just kind of a sense that it's rudderless without him. Because John having very strongly set up what kind of a satire book it was meant to be, I think the others had trouble following in those footsteps.
Well,
if they'd been allowed to do their own version of She-Hulk, it might have turned out differently.
You can tell by the number of writers.
Yeah, I was gonna say simply having to pass the baton that many times is probably hard for any of them to catch any steam worthwhile.
Yeah. And for some reason, there was just less of an inclination to just do what you want. I mean, John had set it up as a comedy book. Therefore, they felt the need to continue that. And that's hard for some people. It's really
hard. Spider-Woman by Dennis Hopeless finally getting a complete collection.
Right.
Or, I'm sorry, a complete trade paperback. There, it's not called a complete collection anymore because they're not doing those. But this collects all of the Hopeless era of Spider-Woman. I had no idea he wrote so much, honestly. Collecting Spider-Man Spider-Woman 1 through 10, 1 through 5, 8 through 17, and material from Amazing Spider-Man 1. That's
a big book.
6 and 7, are those the crossover issues with Spider-Gwen? Anybody remember off the top of their head? Or anybody in the chat remember?
Sounds right, because that's when they had all three Spider-Women kind of in each other's books.
Totally. It is.
Okay. It is? Okay, that's what I thought. That's why they're missing from it.
I read Spider-Women, and that was very good. I've not really read this.
Yep. Why not call this Spider-Woman epic then? I mean, it would be a modern epic, maybe. This is during the baby or right after
this
the
could
baby?
be during or right after, because I only vaguely know because I was reading Silk and Spider-Gwen at this time. I never picked up her book, but I think this is either right after she gave birth or like the tail end of that arc.
She's pregnant during this, at least the beginning of this run.
Yeah.
I think.
And she has a different costume. Like, that's not the costume that she has throughout most of this run.
Yeah, she's in the cool like jacket with goggles because I love that one. It's so good.
I was gonna say a lot of cosplayers love that because it's a lot easier to dress up in that than, the classic one.
Well, those fabric cowls are just so hard to do.
The Dark Phoenix Saga is getting another reprint. I think this is a book that, much like, how DC keeps Watchmen. Yeah. It was a question I was asked a few times, and what books should be always kept in print. I think this and Wolverine are ones that Marvel usually keeps in print. And The Crossing. That's a classic story.
And Capwolf. Don't forget Capwolf.
You leave Mark Gruenwald alone. Peter Parker and Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Double Trouble. That is Guri Hiro on that cover. I love these little books. These are digest-sized books. Mariko Tamaki, Vida Ayala, and penciled by Guri Hiro. collecting Peter Parker and Miles Morales Spider-Man Double Trouble 1 through 4. Because they did, what did they do? Thor and Loki Double Trouble.
Yeah,
These
I
are
was gonna ask. I've never seen this one, but
Yeah.
I've seen the Thor and Loki one, and it has like equally cute art on it.
I like those. Oh, Monica is getting now. She got
There
a
you
complete,
go.
She did get a complete collection a while back, but now she's getting a graphic novel, which this is the Marvelverse book. So they take like the best stories that represent the characters, put them together in a collection. So annual 16. So you're going to see some Uncle Raj stories in here, of course. Captain Marvel #1 and Captain Marvel 7 through 8. So just kind of getting you to know the characters. So you have some stuff in here from Uncle Raj, Dwayne McDuffie. Kelly Sue DeConnick is the one that wrote those issues of the 2012 Captain Marvel. Thank you. That's what it was. Was that what it was called? Was it called First Blood? No, shut up. I just got that stupid joke. No, there was a trade paperback that came out a couple of years ago that was nothing but pretty much the saga of Monica Rambeau as
I forget what it was called.
Captain Marvel. I can't remember. Kurtis would know. Let's ask him.
It was just called Captain Marvel.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Mighty Marvel Masterworks Captain America Volume 2, The Red Skull Lives. Look at that direct market cover. My kids are gonna be reading this going, oh my gosh. The Nazis have the cosmic cube. This story is crazy. Collecting Tales of Suspense 78 through 94 and not Brand.
Come on, Omar, you can do it.
I can do it one day. $15.99. These are the digest size books. My kids are just finished reading Black Panther. They're getting ready to start Namor. It's a lot of fun to review those with my family on the channel. I swear I die with every reprint of the Dark Phoenix saga. Why won't they reprint X-Men 101 and 108? That is a good question. Because that is the Phoenix Dark. Then that would be a bigger book, though. Yes.
Bigger
Epic collection.
and it. I mean, if you want the Dark Phoenix saga, it is kind of ancillary to it. It's kind of the build-up. You don't have to have it.
Omar, did we have Superior Iron Man miniseries in oversized format? I don't think so. I don't think that one's come out in oversized format. I know Bendis got one oversize of his Invincible Iron Man book, but that was about it. All right, we're going to go through this again and then, of course, get to ask the question on you wonderful folks and remind everybody to smash the like button. But kicking it off with Miles Morales, Spider-Man by Saladin Ahmed Omnibus. Actually, Ødfel, you haven't talked much, so I'm going to let you tell the fine viewers what the books are. So you tell them what is this?
Sounds great. So this is the early years Wonder Man Omnibus. This covers what most of his Avengers run, we determined, I think. So that'll be coming out
September.
Yeah, September of next year. And then Phoenix, which I'm excited for. This will be the Phoenix Omnibus Volume 2. It comes out in September as well, and it covers pretty much everything from Resurrection to Inferno, and then also the beginnings of Rachel as the Phoenix as well, which will be neat. So I might pick that one up.
Okay, this one is $150, 1,328 pages. Ødfel, do you remember how to pronounce this one?
Yeah, this one's Sigil. I don't remember much about what we talked about with the cross-gen stuff.
She dozed off. We didn't do a good job selling it, Lars.
But I'm like...
I'm excited for this.
It's a lot to get through in a short amount of time.
I'm like trying to remember all we talked about with this one, but it's kind of an anthology, right? It's more than just Sigil. I can't remember.
It's Sigil, but it's the very first cross-gen. Yeah, we did lay out a lot of information, Lars. It's the first cross-gen omnibus for that company that went under. Now it was bought out by Disney. So they acquired it a few years back, and they've kind of been sitting on it. And now we're getting our first taste of cross-gen. Hopefully this will sell well enough to get us things like Scion and Sojourn and all these other books that, a lot of talent.
Cazador.
What's that?
El Cazador, the pirate title.
I don't remember that.
Remember that one?
No.
I think it only lasted like 6 issues.
Some of these you wonder why they're not doing anything for trademark renewal, if nothing else. But
that is, maybe that's why they're doing the trade. Okay.
It might be.
Ødfel, these are the reprints of
Yes.
what titles? What are these?
So it's the Avengers Omnibus 1, which we determined was super clean because it's just Avengers 1 through 30.
You remember it.
Yes.
And then the second one, which has quite a bit more, it's got Avengers the Annual, and I forget what else is in it. It looks like some X-Men and some assorted materials from
what, Kurtis?
Don't remember.
there.
I'm
I was-
highlighting it.
Come on, people,
brand-
you can do it. You
I
gotta
was
get
gonna
the
let- I
phlegm.
was
You
gonna
gotta
let
get the phlegm
Ødfel
in your
do it.
voice
Yes.
there.
Hey, both of
There
these,
you go.
Yeah.
both of these are $100 each. Then there's a reprint of Invincible Iron Man. This is also from the Silver Age as well. And this one's also $100. That's 720 pages. Then there are no remasterworks in this solicits either. I noticed that.
Right.
So
Yeah, is this the only masterwork, I think?
Line
there's
cancel.
two.
Oh
of
no,
them.
there's two. Yeah. I
Yeah.
forgot about the Fantastic Four one.
Get this one here, Incredible Hulk, and then you have the Fantastic Four one. Great artwork by John Byrne. We determined that there'll be one more, right?
Yeah, I think.
One more with John Byrne's artwork.
Probably at least one, possibly two.
Yeah.
Then we have the What If. This is the 90s What If era. I love this era. Oh, it's so good. And that omnibus has been resolicited, 1,240 pages, $125. Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3 in the next catalog. When is that one due out? September? Yes, that will be in the next solicits whenever I do this again. Daredevil, along with Wolvie Volume 4. Daredevil Guardian Devil Gallery Edition. Have you read this, Ødfel?
I haven't. I'm trying to find a good entry point for Daredevil because I'm very intrigued, but I've never really read much. And I'm like, some people want to go all the way back to like Brubaker, some are like start with Marvel Knights. So I'm like, I'm never sure where to jump in.
I got you. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
But
This is
something-
a standalone story right there. So you could
Is
jump
it?
into that and then
Oh yeah.
jump over to somewhere else.
This,
It-
this
it-
is,
it-
well,
It is, but it almost feels like a follow-up to Born Again.
I would.
Like-
Yeah. Have you seen the TV show?
Yeah.
Okay. You may want to start with Frank Miller then.
Okay.
Let me suggest The Man Without Fear. It's a 5-issue miniseries, and it's his origin story retold by Frank Miller because it was supposed to be a movie.
It's a
script.
prequel.
Okay.
I think I would start with Frank Miller. Daredevil, for better or worse, has been defined by Frank Miller. Everyone else who works on is kind of in his shadow. So
Don't start with Chichester.
Is that how you pronounce his name? Chichester.
Chichester.
Yep.
Because Brian Michael Bendis even bumped into Frank Miller at some convention or something or other, and Frank Miller said, "You know that you owe your run to me," and Bendis was like, "Yes, you're exactly right," because the Bendis run is really good, but he's doing Frank Miller.
Yeah. Because there's so much Daredevil that has such glowing reviews that it's just kind of intimidating looking at because there's really not much that people are like, no.
I would say start with Frank. It's also the point when Elektra comes in, and that's the ground more for her. So
I'm gonna invite you on a show, Ødfel, that we do on our channel, Old Reader, New Reader, where I go back and when I do join it, but my co-host is in charge now. But she'll pick a book, and then one of you will be the old reader, and then one of you is the new reader, and you both talk about the experience you had reading this particular title. I don't think we've done Man Without Fear yet. I would love to go back to oh yeah, I'll get with Maddie on that. Spider-Man Volume 1, The End of the Spider-Verse is Dan Slott's hoorah. Like, that's it. No more Spider-Verse after this. They promised. It is called The End of the Spider-Verse. Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which has the Kurtis seal of approval. Dark Web, The Amazing Spider-Man. This is Volume 4 of the Seb Wells era. Star Wars, The Path to Victory. Continuing, this is the Charles Soule. I really like this. This is Mark Guggenheim's Han Solo and Chewbacca series. Punisher War Journal. I didn't state this, but I really like Torunn Grumbeck. If you all haven't read the Valkyrie series she's written, she co-wrote it with Al Ewing and Jason Aaron. And it's the story of Jane Foster when she becomes Valkyrie. First of all, her name is freaking awesome. I love her name. And she has written some amazing stuff following those adventures of Jane Foster. And it seems the series got canceled, but then Marvel is doing here's another mini series that can feature the Valkyries. It's tied in the King in Black, which is okay. I'm okay with that. I mean, the same thing. Come on, the same thing happened to Greg Rucka at DC, right? He wanted to tell a story about the Question, and DC was like, no. But here's a mini series you could do about the crime, the Blood Crime Bible, and all these other things that were tied into things like Final Crisis. Murder World, which is Arcade again, attacking folks. Carnage Volume 2, Carnage in Hell. X-Force by Benjamin Piercy, Volume 6. Trials of X, Volume 10. Captain Marvel, Volume 9. Revenge of the Brood, Part 1. Why the Brood got to take over my girl Rogue, though? Immortal X-Men by Kieran Gillen, Volume 2. Another series I really enjoyed. The Hood. Man, don't miss out on your chance to get this series. It's so good. At least it's worth it for the first 6 issues. I loved it. The Dark Reign, the Hood, that was like during the Bendis era of Avengers that he was using the Hood. She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell. My wife liked the first volume. It definitely is new reader friendly, that's for sure. This collects issues 6 through 10. Have any of you read Rainbow Rowell's She-Hulk?
I really enjoyed it. I've only read like the first 6 issues, but it was very good.
Awesome. What about you, Kurtis? Lars?
No, checked it out.
Ultraman Mystery of the Ultra 7. That's my childhood back then, man. X-Men Legends Past Meets Future. That gets the seal of approval from Lars. He likes that. Over muscular Wolverine.
Oh,
X-Men 92. This gets my seal of approval for that freaking House of 92. It's awesome. Everybody should read it. And again, this is the stuff that's not collected in the Omnibus. X-Force Epic Collection Armageddon Now. And I'm curious what Kurtis is going to be mostly excited about to get this time around. Generation X Epic Collection, The Secret of M. The Secret of M. Boy, get ready for a headache. Yes, Kurtis. I know you're
not a headache at this point. It becomes a headache later on, but it's not a headache in this volume.
You know, Larry Hama's run, right? Iron Man Epic Collection, The Crossing, Sergeant Fury, Epic Collection Volume 2, Berlin Breakout, and another reprint right here, Maximum Carnage, and She-Hulk Volume 4. I'm glad that they're doing that they're giving us issues that were not collected in the Omnibus, though. I like when those are some nice gap fillers.
Yes, it is. I kind of think this is one for completists only, but I'm glad they're making it. Yes.
Spider-Woman by Dennis Hopeless. That is the complete Dennis Hopeless era. X-Men Dark Phoenix Saga, collecting issues 129 to 137. Spider-Man or Peter Parker Miles Morales Double Trouble, and the Photon Digest size Marvelverse book. And Captain America Mighty Marvel Masterworks Volume 2. Now comes the part of the show where I ask my co-host and you wonderful folks watching live, and if you can watching this later, what's the one book you're most excited for from this Solicitations? Ladies first. Ødfel. What's the book that you're like, oh, this is a must?
For me, it's probably Gen X, because I'm still in the process of trying to just get my hands on all of it, and a lot of it just doesn't get trade paperbacks anymore. So I'm kind of excited because this is actually a part of Gen X I've never gotten to read because it's hard to get your hands on. So I'm excited. I've never read it, and I'm excited to tackle it, even if it gets a little messy. But yeah, I think the only one I've gotten my hands on out of all of this section of it is the Underground. So I'm excited to go in a little blind.
There is some of this is collected in any Operation Zero Tolerance collection, because this is the Operation Zero Tolerance era, which actually takes over the book quite a bit. Both of this, I think the Onslaught issues are in here as well. Onslaught and Zero Tolerance. And that kind of sort of derails, but the best part is the return of Chris Pacello and the Underground special.
No, I think this is after Onslaught, because 25 had the Mondo issue. Well, no, actually, you probably know more about this era than I do. But 25. I want to say I think this is post-Onslaught. I remember vaguely the comics that made me stop reading comics. They're forever embedded in my head. So I remember the issues of... Because the issues were drawn by, like, Tom Grumet. It wasn't Chris Bachalo coming back yet. So I want to say that this is after Onslaught and into Operation Zero Tolerance. You are right about that, though.
Yeah, you might be right actually. Was it before? I think it was before issue 25.
Because this has the Daydreamer story arc in there, and that's after because
That
that's
spins
with
out of issue
Franklin.
25.
Yeah, that's with Franklin Richards and oh man, those are drawn by oh my goodness, Martin Eagleland. I think he had a very cartoony style. I really like
it. So maybe
that Daydreamers. Yeah, it should be credited in the. Oh yeah, Martin Eagleland. That's right.
Yes, this guy.
That Daydreamers miniseries is just weird, and it's like they go to a Dr. Seuss world or something like that, and it's written by J.M. DeMatteis. And I asked him about it. He's like, I don't even remember that.
Fond memories. Well, your interviews about Gen X are fond memories by the writers. Oh yeah, I did a lot of pills back then. What about you, Kurtis? What's the book you're most excited for?
Well, it's going to be this one for sure, with my personal favorite issue of Marvel Comics ever. So definitely this one.
Okay.
But I mean, all of the Epic collections here look super good. I'm very excited for this amazing month of Epic collections.
There's a lot.
Nice variety.
Lars, am I looking at it?
I would say, beg your pardon, the Daredevil Gallery Edition. Yeah. Partly because this is really, really good. And as a gallery edition, it should look gorgeous. Partly because I've developed FOMO about gallery editions. I didn't, because it doesn't appear.
They go out of print. They don't reprint them. You're right, though.
There's no evidence that Marvel has any interest in reprinting them. Maybe one day they will, and that's fine. But I didn't get the Weapon X one. And it's like $70, and I didn't. What other one? There was another one. Love and War. I didn't get Love and War. So now, if a gallery edition comes out and I want it, I'm all over it.
Awesome. That's a good choice, man. I like, and it's Quesada's artwork is just so good because he's inked by. I like Quesada, but I love Quesada and Palmiotti together. Like their work together is so good.
Yeah.
Oh man, and you have Kevin Smith. Like. And really wordy, but
again, my quibbles about the ending aside, Kevin Smith is very good.
For me, the book I'm most excited about is
Wonder Man? No, sorry.
Sigil.
Okay.
Yeah, or Sigil if you're from Kentucky. Omnibus. This opens up the door to more cross-gen. Yes, hell yes, please. It was a very. If it lasted 5 years, they did so much work. There were so many creators that worked over there. Ron Marsh, Mark Waid, Greg Land, Jim Chung, Tony Bedard, Chuck Dixon. There's just George Paydez did some stuff.
He did.
I'm trying to remember the guy that did Way of the Rat. I really liked his art. He did Wonder Man, the 90s Wonder Man with oh my goodness, what was his
Jeff
Johnson? Was that Jeff Johnson? I think so.
Is that who did that?
Yeah, I think so. He did Way of the Rat, and then you had The Path. I mean, there were just so many great stories. So I'm good to see this one come out in omnibus format. I was very excited to see it.
Gerard Jones. No, that's the writer. Gerard Jones is the writer.
Yeah, Jones was the writer. Jeff Johnson, I think, was his name. He went on to do other projects, but he did Wonder Man for a long time. What about the rest of you? Let's see what everybody else is saying. Spider-Woman by Hopeless, one of my favorite modern runs, and Miles Omni, Gen X3, too lazy to get the singles during this part of the run.
That is the whole purpose of getting collected editions. Who wants to pull out the comic box, find the issue, take it out of the plastic, read 22 pages, and then put it back and get out the next one?
Well, I have a friend who shall remain nameless. He may be listening right now. Who he's been buying comics for like the last 30 years, buying singles, and he just gets them, reads them, and then just puts them in a box. Doesn't sort them, And so now
evil.
Well, now he's got 25, 30 years of comics in rough chronological order from the entire publisher. Like, how can you find anything? And he really can't.
That's horrifying. I don't have a great organization system, but that's horrifying.
It is. And well, this is yet another reason why I get collected editions, because they shelve wonderfully.
Yes, it's so much easier to keep track of these things. So I see some love for Sigil and Immortal X-Men and
Sigil.
No, Sigil. We've been over this. She-Hulk.
I believe it's pronounced Sigil.
What if? Baby Wonder Man. It can't be as bad as New. I hate you. Why would you throw that in there? Spider-Woman by Hopeless. Gen X. Most excited about Carnage, but I'm missing something. It doesn't have issue 5. I don't have volume 1. Didn't volume 1 have issue 5? I don't know. I will find out. I'll find out. Literally only getting Miles Omnibus. Way too much Silver Age on this one. What?
There's a lot.
Sigil is not Silver Age. Spider-Verse and Dark Web. Yeah, I'm gonna hold out for a Gen X Omni. It's coming, man. It's gonna come like with 2 extra comics. It's gonna make Kurtis buy it because it's not available in his precious Epic collections. When do you think Marvel?
I know which ones those would be too. Is that issue of X-Force where Emma talks to Warpath about killing the Hellions?
Oh yes.
And that was left out of the Gen X Epic collections.
Right. I remember that one.
What? That wasn't a New Warriors thing? I thought that was a New Warriors thing. Did they also do it in Gen X?
They didn't. They didn't put it in the Gen X Epic collections, but half of the Gen X cast is in that issue, and it's a formative story for Emma because we're right at the beginning of realizing like why is she's a villain? Why is she leading up this team of X-Men? And that whole conversation was a great like turning point to let us readers know where her train of thought is these days.
Got you. Maximum Carnage. I haven't read it in years. I'm a sucker for early 90s nostalgia and crossovers. This is for you, brother. The Hood, for sure. He was one of my favorites when growing up. No, I loved it. I thought it was so good. Do these single character cluster bus omnis actually sell before they hit an I don't know what the figures look like. I can't. Obviously, I mean, the Phoenix sold well enough to get a volume 2. Did the Executioners? The character Executioner ever turn up in any other comic after Gen X? He was in Punisher. It was weird because in John Oscar's Punisher, that's where you find out who Executioner was, like his secret identity.
Was it his mom?
Which is so, yes, actually it was. No, which is so weird because it was a character created in X-Men, but for some reason they were like, yeah, we'll reveal who he is in this random issue of the Punisher.
Was he anyone of consequence?
No. He was like, I think he was like an ex-SHIELD agent or something.
It was Professor X all along.
It wasn't like Richard Nixon or anything. Like
what I'm hearing from you is the Hobgoblin saga. It was not. Okay.
No, it wasn't. It was, but he was never really built up, right? I don't think he ever said. No. Nobody said, like Wolverine never said, oh, that guy smells familiar. Or Peter's like, I recognize that voice. It was just a guy. Like, I think he was a SHIELD agent or something.
If I'm remembering right. Marvel and DC both had a phase where they tried to just shotgun in a whole bunch of new characters in their annuals.
He was one of those. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the problem is you shotgun in all these characters with like just at random, no real context, no real grounding for them. And of course, most of them are going to just flame out.
A lot of people were really confused with the most recent Marauders because they just put him in there as a villain and everyone's like, who?
Who the hell are you?
But is it the original Executioner or is it somebody else?
I don't think they ever said. I think he's only like one issue and I don't think they really specified.
Well, going back to the whole M thing, I feel like some writers are like, which M am I writing about? Like, okay, what happened? Can anybody give me the quick synopsis as to what happened to M and Penance? Invincible Iron Man Volume 1 reprint for me, probably because I will have to buy some in copies in order to convince Peter Gabriel, the Green Light, Mad Fractions, and Len Kaminsky's Iron Man.
It's a little strange that they didn't finish the Fraction.
Where are you going to put those? Most excited for Slot Spider-Man. Good toilet. Ouch.
No.
How much money do you spend on toilet paper?
First of all, it does not need toilet paper. This is not the purpose for which it was designed. Coincidentally, over the weekend, I Zoomed with some college friends who I was reminded at a point when my best friend, the college newspaper was so bad, he was determined to literally use it as toilet paper. And it didn't go well because, it was not printed on toilet paper.
I can only assume it was terrible.
iMagneto is still in print, I believe. I don't think that one's out of print. If Hopeless Spider-Woman were an Omni, I'd be getting that. Maybe one day. Gallery edition all day long. Fragile. Will we get a reprint of Daredevil Companion Omnibus by Miller anytime soon? I haven't heard about that one. Just the Daredevil by Miller one. Let's see. Avengers Omnis 1 and 2 definites for me. I can imagine her beating Peter Parker to a pulp for arriving home late for dinner.
Yeah.
You talking about Mary Jane?
Okay,
What's up,
Punisher.
Omnibo? Just popping to say hi. Back to bed. I'll catch the replay in the morning. Go back to bed, brother. Hey, Omar, I never read anything sigil related, but the Omni looks sick. The cool thing about the Omni is like a lot of this was drawn by the brothers, Ben Lai, and I cannot remember his brother's name. He was his inker, but
Well,
it was really cool to see them like work on this book for so long.
Also, Omar, you know better than me. I mean, isn't this pretty much it? Crossgen didn't last.
Oh yeah,
that
this
long.
is it.
So
This
if,
won't be
if you're
anymore.
into sigil, just buy this, and it's all
Unless
done.
for some reason Marvel revives it and
Right.
one of these characters becomes the new host for the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Who knows? Waiting on that Dev's Head 2 Omni and Epic one day, dude. One day. So at this moment, just want to tell everybody about cheapgraphicnovels.com. If you're interested in purchasing some of these books here and you live in America, you can go and pre-order them over there. They have books up to 50% off. They do have some sales all the time. I know their Nick and Dent sales did a lot of damage on a lot of people's wallets. If you tell them Near Mint Condition sent you their way, you get free shipping on your next order after your first order. And that's cheapgraphicnovels.com. And at this moment, I want to thank my panel of wonderful co-hosts for joining me today. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. So thank you all so much. But before we go, where can people find you all? Ødfel, where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And briefly, I do want to say thanks to all the Minties who stopped by and said hi at GalaxyCon. It made my heart happy. And I was like, oh,
Oh, that's
people
awesome.
remembered me. Okay. So yeah, thank you guys. But I'm Ødfel. I'm a cosplayer. I do occasional videos here as well as toy and figure unboxings on YouTube. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon under Ødfel. This side, oops. And on Twitter it's a 0 instead of an O, but everywhere else it should just be an O. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you made it. Kurtis, what about you, buddy?
Well, you can find me in the epicmarvelpodcast.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can subscribe to my Substack under Kurtis Findlay. And yeah, other than that, you can find me in Iowa, actually, right now.
Yes. Frozen.
You're doing a whole tour of Iowa.
That's right.
Awesome, buddy. And last but not least, this guy.
Probably least, if we're being honest. Probably least.
You weren't a big pusher for Iron Man, which really shocked me.
I said I
thought
enjoyed
there
this.
was one guy in the panel that could be the Iron Man guy.
I enjoyed the Bendis run. I'm at madnorwegian.com, and we have a new Doctor Who book, a new volume of About Time, covering the Tom Baker era out in, well, it's formally solicited for May, but it's going to be out in March because it has to do with distributor timetables and all that stuff. So, and we too have a Patreon account. If you feel like joining us there and racking up some credit, and I'll send you some books. Yeah, good times.
Awesome. And again, thank you to David Gabriel, everyone at Marvel for sending us this advance solicit. They will be available everywhere, I think the second or third week in January. And these books will be available for pre-order once the solicit goes live and people can order books. But that's it for us.
Somebody in the stream wants me to say Des Moines, and it is pronounced Des Moines, not Des Moines. Okay? Des Moines.
But that's it. Any other thing you all want to say? Happy holidays, whatever.
Yeah, happy holidays. Stay warm.
Happy holidays.
Kurtis, that singing rendition you